Ladies and gentlemen, I have always opined on this particular platform that in politics, nothing happens out of mere coincidence, and that everything in politics is normally well planned, well scripted, and executed to achieve a specific political objective. Nothing in politics just happens for the sake of it. Yesterday, William Samoei Arap Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya, sacked the Health Permanent Secretary, Dr. Josephine Mburu, and the entire Kenya Medical Supplies Authority Board, Kemsa board, including its chairman, Daniel Rono. What do you think was the objective of that particular move? Because for those who follow the politics of this country very closely, on Sunday, William Ruto was on various TV and radio stations across the country. And the issue of Kemsa scandal, this particular 4 billion scandal, came up. And William Ruto promised to take bold action. And indeed, he fired the entire Kemsa board. And as a matter of fact, he appointed new members, including my friend Hesbon Omolo, including Bernard Kipkirui, Beta, Jane Masiga Doctor, and Jane Nyagaturi Batia. But why do you think William Ruto fired the entire board of Kemsa? That is what I want us to look in this particular video. Because let's face it, Kemsa is scandal-ridden body in the country. In fact, Kenyans are suffering in hospitals for lack of drugs, probably because of Kemsa. It was a good body, but along the way, it is a den of corruption. So for those who follow or who have been following this particular move by the president, it is clear that questions are being asked about the real objective. Before we do all those, for those who are watching the channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support, because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is now. Let us get straight to the issues. Why do you think William Ruto made that move? For me, number one, I think William Ruto is sending a message to Rigathi Gachagua. If you go online, many people are linking this scandal to the son of a powerful individual. And they're not mentioning the name. But for me, on this platform, I can mention the name. Let me just take you through Pauline Njoroge post so that you can conclude the name yourself. Pauline Njoroge is saying, the scandalous Kemsa mosquito net deal was signed in a certain office on Arambe Avenue and not office of the president. A very senior politician or government official whose sons had vested interest in the matter called officials at the Ministry of Health and Kemsa to his Arambe Avenue office and told them they had to follow his instructions. We remain truthful. So we remain truthful means truthful men. And you know what truthful men mean? And she goes again, an interesting story is also emerging that the son of a very senior politician or government official from Mount Kenya region were also involved in the Kemsa malaria deal. We remain truthful. Because have you ever asked yourself this simple question? Why, for example, Ruto would fire one PS, because Ministry of Health has 2 PS, why would you fire one PS and leave the other? Because let's face it, in the Ministry of Health, there is Permanent Secretary for Public Health and Professional Standards, which is under Josephine Mburu. This is basically a department dealing with research, things like KEMRI and the rest, not Kemsa. And then there is the Permanent Secretary for Medical Services, who is Engineer Peter K. Tom. That is where the scandal took place. Because if you look at the executive order which President William Ruto issued sometimes back on the Ministry of Health, it is very clear that the State Department for Medical Services Permanent Secretary, Engineer Peter K. Tum, State Department for Public Health and Professional Standards, Principal Secretary Dr. Josephine Mburu. So Josephine Mburu is the second one. Now let us look at the State Department for Medical Services, whose permanent secretary is actually Engineer Peter K. Tum. If you go through this communique which they issued, it shows the institution under Tum. One of them is NHIF, which William Ruto has direct interest in. It also has Kemsa, which William Ruto has direct interest in. It also has Kemri, and it also has Kenyatta National Hospital. But Tum has not been fired. Why? It is because probably these sons placed pressure on Dr. Josephine, and the deal went through. So it's a message. William Ruto is sending a message to anybody in his government, however powerful you are, that don't do this. Don't do this. Number two, I also tend to think that William Ruto is avoiding the traps which Uhuru Kenyatta fell for. You know, during Uhuru Kenyatta's time, there were a lot of scandals, but he never took action. William Ruto wants to be seen to be acting. If you look at handshake era, there was no scandal. The only scandal which was there was the Kemsa scandal during COVID, which was then branded COVID millionaires. And William Ruto and the team bragged, and they used to mention COVID millionaires. We are not talking of the same Kemsa, now malaria, and we are talking of 4 billion lost. Scandal. Not lost really, but scandal. So which means there's such a possibility that someone somewhere is going to rename or to name this particular scandal malaria millionaires. And Ruto will have to carry it throughout. So to avoid that, Ruto must be seen to be acting very fast on the matter. Fire the individuals concerned and let things move on at their pace. So for me, I am looking at it from the perspective that William Ruto is keen on projecting an image of a ruthless president who is not condoning corruption. But in real sense, what he's doing is that they are covering for the dirty work of their associates. Number three, which for me is also very important, and Pauline Njoroge actually alluded to it. Let me just read it for you, what Pauline Njoroge was alluding to here, that the scandalous Kemsa mosquito net deal was signed in a certain office on Harambee Avenue and not office of the president. So basically it means that William Ruto is making these moves to punish those who executed this deal behind it is back. Because we are talking of a president who is in charge, then a scandal of 4 billion is coming up without knowing. Let me take you to another gentleman called one of the top lawyers in the country, Peter Wanyama, for credibility. There's something which Peter Wanyama pointed out, which is important. This is what he pointed out yesterday, that I analyzed the appointment of principal secretaries. I pointed out that the president had selected greenhorns as PS because he didn't want cartels. Persons who get into government and start massive theft, especially when the economy is in shambles. So Wanyama is suggesting that when William Ruto appointed permanent secretaries, he went for people who had no experience in running the government because he didn't want to appoint cartels. You know, the moment you appoint cartels, they'll execute this kind of deals without anybody noticing. They will be only noticed later during audit queries. But he's saying here something important here, that as a PS, you can't alone steal billions under Ruto's watch. So which means these deals were executed behind William Ruto's watch. And because they were executed behind William Ruto's watch, he's now punishing everybody who was involved. And he's saying the firing of the Health PS is a message to other PS. This president is Baba na Mama. These greenhorn PS should know one or two things about government. The president is the principal assistant. So basically, he's trying to remind these people that as much as you want to execute corruption scandal, please ensure that the president is involved. So they're being punished because probably Engineer Tum was not part of this scandal. And number four, I also tend to think that there is a clear emergence of nepotism in William Ruto's government. And is hiding it by firing this board. Let me just read for you the names of those who have been sacked. And then you can see the name who have been appointed. So according to the notice yesterday, the president revoked the appointment of Kemsa CEO Daniel Rono. He was appointed 3 months ago and he has been replaced by Irungu Nyakera. And let me just read for you here. So it says that as part of the overhaul of the Medical Supplies Agency, Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakumisha also sent home other affected senior staff working under the National Malaria Program and Kemsa at the Ministry of Health. They include, I want you to listen to names, Martin Wamoya, maybe a Kisi, I don't know. Then there is Lesson Kariuki, definitely from the mountain. There is Pauline Doya, maybe a Masai, something like that. Then there's Lavington Njuguna, mountain. Charles Kariuki, mountain. Justus Kinoti, mountain. Cosmas Rotich, Rift Valley, and Anthony Shege, mountain. So basically, if you look at the composition of that Kemsa, it is kind of a treble board or a treble staff. So he's removed them and he has appointed Hesbon Omolo, Bernard Kipkirui, Jane Masiga, and Jane Nyagugaturi. So basically, the new ones, there's a bit of blend. So William Ruto is firing these people in the manner he's doing to kind of do away with tribalism at Kemsa. Because assuming, why do you think even Tum was left out? Assuming Tum was also left out, this was going to be a Kikuyu Kalenjin affair or scandal. And lastly, I'm also convinced that this sacking is actually meant to appease the donors. You know, the donors were like, we want to get to the bottom of this matter. The other day, the permanent secretary was like trying to defend this thing. He was accompanied by the Kemsa board chair, Dr. Daniel Rono. They tried so hard on TV. I watched it. But now they're being told the donors are key here. You can't just mess up with their money and survive. So William Ruto wants to appease the donors so that the donors can believe that something is being done. Something is happening. I don't know what you think. That's my take. And thank you guys. May you have a good day. Bye-bye.